business, marketing, and entrepreneurship from the lens of the digital age. It's time to shine digitally.
Welcome back, guys, to Shine Digitally. Today, we are talking about buyer persona. So strap in, let's go ahead and dive in. So, here's why I decided to talk about this today, guys, as we move forward. See, this is paramount to our growth as we continue to shine online. And here's why. If you know your buyer's persona, let me give you an analogy. How about this? You got 5 seeds, right? And you're trying to yield some fruit, some plants. You're trying to grow 5 plants. But you decide to go into the woods and just throw them all into the air and hope that, you come back and they've grown into plants. First off, you don't know where those seeds went if you just threw them up. You can't come back and identify anything to be able to see where you went wrong and where you went right. So if you was to continue to do that year to year, there would be no growth because you wouldn't be able to identify where you was lacking. Well, I guess the first thing you could do is identify that you throwing it in the air and not knowing where they're going is not helping you to grow. And so here's how this is analogous. So if you online, as we're building our funnels and our marketing campaigns, etc., we have to know where our seeds are going. And this correlates to the buyer persona because if you're able to identify your persona, the age range, what they like, what they don't like. Ooh, gosh, this is getting good. I got to write this down because this is something that I've been personally implementing into one of our businesses. And it's helped me a lot because now I can focus in on that type of person that we need to target for the business. Now, where I went wrong when I first started years ago with actually one of the campaigns that I created for State of Prime was that I just made the marketing material and the funnels and the pages without knowing who I was directing it to. I had an idea, which is, people who were into the natural lifestyle, natural mind, body, spirit, personal growth, but that wasn't specific enough. See, the more specific you get, the more granular you get, the more you can optimize because now you're able to see where those seeds are planted and what's not working. Now, I'm not saying you need to be too specific, but the more we can hone in on the buyer persona, the more we can identify what works and what doesn't. And the reason why this is important is because when you identify who your buyer persona is, then you can start to adjust it. So an example, let's say you're selling blankets. Or no, you know what, that's probably, well, yeah, let's keep it a little bit vague so we can learn from this. So you're selling blankets, right? First off, who are you selling blankets to? Because now here's where this example can help us put this into perspective. So let's say you're just selling blankets. You go out on the street or you make a website, you're selling blankets. Cool, anyone who needs a blanket. Okay, now what if, now you're just selling blankets. Now, what if we identify a buyer persona and we identify mothers who want healthy, comfortable blankets for the babies, right? Now, here's why this is foundational. You get to your marketing material. Whoever lands on that page, yes, there's going to be people who aren't in alignment, but the people who do land on your page, they're going to be like, that's me. I'm a mother. I have a baby, and I want her or him to be comfortable and have the best blanket that, is antimicrobial, keeps electromagnetic radiation away, all these things. Right, this is a great idea for someone also if you want to make this would be great. But if I land on that page and I'm that mother, I'm like, this is for me. You want to have your page set up to where you're able to identify a group of people that come to your page and is able to raise their hand. If you don't have nobody raising their hand, yeah, you might have people come to your page, oh, blanket, cool, okay. But they're not raising their hand. You want whoever's coming to that page to raise their hand because then this correlates to what we spoke about a couple weeks ago. Then you get the information, you're able to follow up, you're able to create a relationship, you're able to educate. But if nobody's raising a hand, guys, it's not going to get nowhere. And so this is foundational, because when you build that page and you get people to start raising their hand, now you're going to be learning a lot more, because now you can start to segment that. You can start to identify what's working within that certain buyer persona. You know, what types of mothers? Is it newborn mothers? Maybe it's not newborn mothers. Maybe it's toddlers. You know, is there a specific color that, I mean, all these subtleties you can start to learn, but we can only learn that when we identify the the when we get a little bit specific. Now I'm not now you know what they say. You know what they say, guys. The riches are in the niches, right? I agree. But if you start wide, right? You have a big cast and you see what's working, you can maneuver around. I think it's a mix of both as you're starting out. To get down to the niche, I feel like experimenting and adjusting is paramount. Because if you just start off thinking without any information to back it up, you might just think this is what needs to be done, or this is what the perfect buyer persona is. But until you have the information to back it up, you might just be swimming and not knowing where you're going. And so that's where casting a big net and starting to create your buyer persona. Now, I'm not going to get into specifics because there's many different ways to do this, but the overarching theme of today's episode is creating a buyer persona so that you can hone in and see what works, especially as we move forward in this new age, so to speak, of marketing. Online, there's so many people that comes in, and people want to feel tied to something. It's a natural tendency of us humans. We want to be connected to something, and that, if you can add that to your buyer persona, of creating an environment where they feel like it's a tribe of like-minded people, that's an extra oomph that you can add to whatever it is that you're offering. Is the group, the social aspect. Social capital is not to be underestimated. Again, this is the whole reason. Not even again. This is correlated to another podcast episode I made the other day. But social capital, this is foundational. It really is, guys. This phone, the clothes I'm wearing, to this bag that I'm holding. I'm in the woods right now. All this around me, except for the woods, you know, like the clothes, me communicating with you. This is all stemmed from social capital. Humans coming together and creating things. Nobody can do this alone. And so be aware that that's just a little side tangent I was going off on to say that you could add that to your funnel or your marketing campaign. But we'll wrap up today's episode with simply this, guys. Be aware of your buyer persona, because you can hone in and see what works and start to adjust that buyer persona until you get it just right. And now, guess what? When you create your marketing campaigns, when you go out, you're not going to waste no time talking to someone who doesn't fit that description. Not that they're wrong, bad, or whatever. It's just that they don't fit that persona, and you have information and experience that backs up what works. So that's going to conclude today's episode, guys. Buyer persona. Be aware of your buyer persona and how that connects to your overarching campaign.